Bandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Parijana Sajam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Scha Om Agyana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gaurava Bhistam Supurakam Gargana Rasesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Abhidam Ujjalam Bharatanum Bhaktiyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Premna Vibija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelan Shitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Bandetam Shubhanam Madeka Sharanam Nyasishwara Sridharam Vanshikopatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurata Vishay Namah. Touch the book. Touch the book.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki
So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila, Chapter 9, Lord Chaitanya's Travels to the Holy Places. And I'll begin with verse number 235. Sedin Shaliaila Payasvini Tire Snanakore Gelari Keshava Mandire Keshava Dekiya Preme Avishta Hoila Natistuti Nrityagita Bahuta Korila. The very night Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his assistant Krishnadas arrived at the bank of the Payasvini River. They took their bath and then went to see the temple of Adikeshava. When the Lord saw the Adikeshava temple, he was immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy. Offering various obeisances and prayers, he chanted and danced. Premadeki loke hoila maha chamatkar, sarva lok koila prabhur parama satkar. All the people were greatly astonished to see the ecstatic pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all received the Lord very well. Mahabhakta Gana Saha Tahan Goshti Koila Brahma Samhita Jaya Punti Tahan Paila. In the temple of Adikeshava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among the highly advanced devotees. While there he found a chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Puntipaya Prabhur Hoila Ananda Par Kampashu Sveda Stamba Pulaka Vikar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find a chapter of that scripture. And symptoms of ecstatic transformation, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance, and jubilation were manifest in his body. So they found chapter of the Brahma Samhita, and Mahaprabhu was very ecstatic, very happy to find that scripture. Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhita Rasam Govinda Mahima Gyaner Paramakaran Alpakare Kohe Siddhanta Par Sakala Vaishnava Shastra Madhye Atisar. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. Bahujatne se punti nilalekaya ananta padmanabha aila harashita hoya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the Brahma Samhita copied, and then with great pleasure he went to a place known as Ananta Padmanabha. Dina Dui Padmanabha Koiladarashan Anande Dekite Aila Sri Janardan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 2 to 3 days at Ananta Padmanabha and visited the temple there. Then, in great ecstasy, he went to see the temple of Sri Janardan. Dina Duita Hankori Kirtana Nartan Payas Vinyasiya Deke Shankara Narayan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced at Sri Janardan for 2 days. He then went to the bank of the Payasvini River and visited the temple of Shankara Narayan. Sringeri Matayailas Shankaracharya Stane Matsyatirtha Deki Koila Tungabad Badraya Snane. Then he saw the monastery known as Sringeri Mat, the abode of Acharya Shankar. He then visited Matsyatirtha, a place of pilgrimage, and took a bath in the river Tungabhadra. Madhvacharya Stani Aila Jahad Tatvavari Udupite Krishna Deki Tahan Hoila Premon Mari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Nartak Gopal Deke Paramamohane Madhvacharya Swapnadiya Ailatarastane. While at the Udupi monastery, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Nartak Gopal, dancing Gopal, a most beautiful deity. This deity appeared to Madhvacharya in a dream. Gopi Chandan Tale Achila Dingate Madhvacharya Se Krishna Paila Konmate. Madhvacharya had somehow or other acquired the deity of Krishna from a heap of Gopi Chandan that had been transported in a boat. Madhvacharya Anitare Korila Stapan Adyavadi Seva Kore Tatvavadigan. Madhvacharya brought this dancing Gopal deity to Udupi and installed him in the temple. To date, the followers of Madhvacharya, known as Tattvavadis, worship the deity. Krishnamurti Deki Prabhu Mahasukapaila Premaveshi Bahukana Nrityagita Koila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received great pleasure in seeing this beautiful form of Gopal. For a long time he danced and chanted in ecstatic love. Tattvavari gan Prabhu ke Mayavari Gyane Pratamadarshane Prabhu ke Nakoila Sambhashane. When the Tattvavadi Vaishnavas first saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they considered him a Mayavadi sannyasi. Therefore, they did not talk to him. Because Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas initiation, and by appearance, the sannyasis at the time would not have sikas, and they'd appear to be Mayavadis. So the Tattvavadis in the Madhvacharya temple in Udupi thought Mahaprabhu was a Mayavadi sannyasi. They didn't talk with him. Pache Premavesha Deke Hoila Chamatkar Vaishnava Jnane Bahuta Korila Satkar. Later, after seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstatic love, they were struck with wonder. Then, considering him a Vaishnava, they gave him a nice reception. Vaishnavata Sabar Antare Garbhajani Ishat Hashiya Kichu Kohe Goramani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the Tattvavadis were very proud of their Vaishnavism. He therefore smiled and began to speak to them. Tasabar Antare Garbhajani Gorachandra Tasaba Sange Goshti Korila Aramba. Considering them very proud, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his discussion. Tattvavadi Acharya Sab Shastrate Praveen Tare Prashna Koila Prabhu Hoya Jainadin. The chief Acharya of the Tattvavad community was very learned in the revealed scriptures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly questioned him. Sadhya Sadhana Amina Jani Balomate Sadhya Sadhana Shrestha Janaha Amate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me of the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. Acharya Kohe Varnashrama Dharma Krishna Samarpan Ahoy Krishna Bhaktera Shrestha Sadan. The Acharya replied, when the activities of the four castes and the four varnas are dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. Varnashram Dharma Krishna Samarpan. So when the activities of Varnashram Dharma, that means four castes are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Those are the four castes. And the four ashrams are sannyas, vanaprastha, grihastha, and brahmachari. So when the four activities of the four castes and the four ashramas, varnashram dharma is dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. Panchavida mukti paya Vaikuntha gaman sadhya shrestha hoy es shastra nirupan. When one dedicates the duties of Varnashram Dharma to Krishna, one is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus one is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life in the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Prabhu Kohe, Shastra Kohe, Shravana Kirtan, Krishna Prema Seva Faler, Parama Sadan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to the verdict of the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Parasevanam, Archanam Bandhanam Dashyam, Sakyamatma Nivedanam, iti pumsarpita Vishnu bhaktis chinnavalakshana kriyeta bhagavati ada tanmanye ditam uttamam. This process entails hearing, chanting, and remembering the holy name, form, pastimes, qualities, and entourage of the Lord, offering service according to the time, place, and performer, worshiping the deity, offering prayers, always considering oneself the eternal servant of Krishna, making friends with him, and dedicating everything unto him. These 9 items of devotional service, when directly offered to Krishna, constitute the highest attainment of life. This is a verdict of the revealed scriptures. Shravanam kirtanam hoite Krishna hoya prema se panchama purushartara sima. When one comes to the platform of loving service to Lord Krishna by executing these 9 processes, beginning with hearing and chanting, one has attained the 5th platform of success and the limit of life's goals. Evam vrata swapriyanama kirtya jatanurago jrutachitta uchai asati ato rodati roti gayati unmara vanrityati lokamayaha. When one is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, one is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. One also laughs, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Karma ninda, karma tyaga, sarva shastre kohe, karma hoite, prema bhakti, krishna kabunahe. In every revealed scripture, there is condemnation of fruitive activities. One is advised everywhere to give up. Advised everywhere to give up engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of Godhead, by executing them. Agyayaivam gunandoshan mayadishtan apisvakan dharman sanjajaya sarvan mambajet satamaha. Occupational duties are described in the revealed script. Occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, one can fully understand their qualities and faults, and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who does so is considered a first-class man. So occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, one can fully understand their qualities and faults, and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who does so is considered a first-class man. Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja ham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Tavat karmani korvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravana dova shraddha yavan jayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened one's taste for devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. Panchavira mukti tyaga kore bhaktagan, falgo kore mukti deke narakarasam. Pure devotees reject the 5 kinds of liberation. Indeed, for them, liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish. Salokya sharsti samipya sarupyai katvam apiyuta diyamanam na grinanti vinamat sevanam janaha. Pure devotees always reject the 5 kinds of liberation, which include living in the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, possessing the same opulences as those possessed by the Supreme Lord, having the same bodily features as the Lord, associating with the Lord, and merging into the body of the Lord. The pure devotees do not accept these liberations without the service of the Lord. Yo dustyajan shitis sutta svajanarta dharan pratyam shriyam sura varai sadyavalokam naichanrapastad uchitam mahatam madhudvid sevanu rakta manasam abhavo bifalgu. It is very difficult to give up material opulence, land, children, society, friends, riches, wife, or the blessings of the goddess of fortune, which are desired even by great demigods. But King Bharata, Maharaj Bharata, did not desire such things, and this was quite befitting his position, because for a pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, even liberation or merging into the existence of the Lord is insignificant, and what to speak of material opportunities. Narayana para sarve, Narayana para sarve. Narayana para sarve nakutaschana bibyati svarga pavarga narakeshu apitu yartam darshina. A person who is a devotee of Lord Narayan is not afraid of a hellish condition, because he considers it the same as elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation. And the devotees of Lord Narayan are accustomed to seeing all these things on the same level. Mukti karma dui vastu tyaje bhaktagan, se dui stapa tumi sadya sadan. Both liberation and fruitive activity are rejected by devotees. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal and the process for attaining it. Sannyasi deki amore koraha vanshan nakoila te sadya sadhana lakan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues, speaking to the Tattvavadi Acharya, seeing that I am a mendicant in the renounced order of life, you have been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate goal. Shunit Tattvacharya hoila antare lajita, Prabhura Vaishnava deki hoila vishmita. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya at the Tattvavad Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. Mahaprabhu accused the Tattvavadis of giving him, trying to placate him, trying to satisfy him by giving false information about what is the goal of life and what is the goal of life and how to attain that goal of life. He said, first of all, you see me and you see that I'm in front of you and I'm a sannyasi. So then when I asked you what is the process for attaining the goal of life, you tell me varnashram dharma. Because what is that varnashram dharma? It's basically a material process, and what you're saying, you know that the Brahmins are the head of the of the Varnas, that Brahman is the highest. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So Brahman's the highest. And of the ashrams, sannyas is the highest. And sannyasis are, in the time of Mahaprabhu, sannyasis were always Brahmins. Only a Brahmin could become a sannyasi. So Mahaprabhu says, you see me in front of you, you know I'm a sannyasi, so you try to placate me, telling me that following Varnashram Dharma leads to the success of life, because you can see I'm a Brahmin and I'm a sannyasi, so you tell me that the process I'm following, that's the highest process. But he says, that's not the highest process. You're just trying to flatter me. You're just trying to deal with me because you know that that according to the Varnashram Dharma, I'm in a good situation. So you tell me that's the foremost process. But he says that's mundane. He says the real process is to attain Krishna Bhakti, and that is through Shravanam, highest process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Swahanam. The process is to engage in devotional service and to hear and chant about the Lord. That should be described as the process. And then you're telling me that the goal of life is to attain liberation. But that is, we do not see liberation as the goal of life. So he says, therefore, you're giving me false information, just trying to flatter me. So that's what he said. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues speaking to the Tattvavadi Acharya. Seeing that I'm a mendicant in the renounced order of life, you have been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate objective. And as far as the goal, Mahaprabhu said, both liberation and fruitive activity are rejected by devotees. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal and the process for attaining it. What is the verse by Rupa Goswami? Jnana karmadi yanavritam anukuyena Krishna shilanam bhakti rutama. Just forgetting the first line. Put that into your phone, all right? Anakuyena Krishna. Just forget the first line. Anakuyena Krishna no Shilanam Bhakti Rutama. Jnana karma dhyana-vritam anakuyena Krishna no Shilanam Bhakti Rutama. It says, leaving aside karma and jnana. Leaving aside karma, fruitive activities, and jnana, mundane knowledge or renunciation, and Anukuyena Krishnanu Shilanam, then that will be favorable devotional service to Krishna. And Rupa, you have it?
It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita or which book?
It's in the but it's Rupa Goswami's verse. Somebody is on the phone is answering right now because let's see.
Oh, Anya-vilashita sunyam.
Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti arutama. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti arutama. Rupa Goswami says you should leave aside fruitive activities and renunciation. Those are not the goal. Those are not the processes of devotional service. But anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti arutama. Real devotional service means doing activities which are pleasing and satisfying to Krishna. Anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti arutama. So, Acharya ko he tumi je kaha se satya hoy. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya of the Tattvavad Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. Because when they realized that Mahaprabhu is a Vaishnava and he's showing, then when they understand that he's a Vaishnava, then they try to flatter him and they try to say, oh, the process for attaining perfection is to execute Varnashram Dharma, and the perfection will be when you attain liberation. You can say, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatmana Shochatina Kankshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. But Mahaprabhu says, you have not... Speaking to the Tattvavadacharya, he said, seeing that I'm a mendicant in the renounced order of life, seeing that I'm a sannyasi, you've been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate objective. Then, Shuni Tattvacharya hoila antare lajita prabhora vaishnavata deki hoila vishmita. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya of the Tattvavad Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. Acharya kohe tumi je kaha se satya hoy sarva shastre Vaishnavera e shunis joy. The Tattvavadi Acharya replied, what you have said is certainly factual. It is the conclusion of all the revealed scriptures of the Vaishnavas. Tatapi Madhvacharya je koryache nirbandha se acharya sab sampradaya sambandha. Still, whatever Madhvacharya has established as the formula for our party, we practice as a party policy. So Mahaprabhu, he is in the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. But we see that when Mahaprabhu was visiting Udupi and in exchange with the Tattvavadis, the followers of Madhvacharya, Mahaprabhu is not very pleased. So later, what we are saying, that why we have relation with that Sampradaya is principally because Madhavendra Puri appeared in that Sampradaya, and he was different than those who preceded him, and he actually established what is the true principles of Vaishnavism, in particular Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is Madhavendra Puri established. He is considered the ankur, the sprout of Mahaprabhu's full conception. So, because of Madhavendra Puri, we are situated in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And So the Madhvacharya is presenting Vaishnavism, but not. So that's what the Tattvavadis say. Still, whatever Madhvacharya is established as the formula for our party, we practice as a party policy. So they're following Vaishnavism, but Mahaprabhu doesn't give them high marks for their presentation when he asks them what is the process to attain perfection and what is that perfection. And they tell him it's Varnashram Dharma and it's to attain liberation. And Mahaprabhu says, no, that's neither the process nor is it the goal. Prabhu kohe karmi gyani dui bhaktihin tomara sampradaya deki say dui china. Mahaprabhu said both the fruitive worker and the speculative philosopher, both the karmi and the jnani, are considered non-devotees. We see both elements present in your sampradaya. Save ek gunadeki tomara sampradaya satya vigraha kore ishvare koraha nischaya. The only qualification that I see in your sampradaya is that you accept the form of the Lord as truth. You're not Mayavadis, you accept the form of the Lord as truth. But I see from what I hear from you that so much, we see both the fruit of both karma and jnana are rejected. And yet we see those elements present in your sampradaya. The only qualification that I see in your sampradaya is that you accept the form of the Lord as truth. They are worshipping Narta Gopal, they're worshipping the Lord. They're worshipping Krishna. That's the deity of Madhvacharya. But Mahaprabhu says there is impurities in what you have said and are presenting. Imata Taragaris Garva Churna Kori Falgutirte Tabe Chali Aila Gorahari. Thus Mahaprabhu broke the pride of the Tattvavadis to pieces. He then went to the holy place known as Falgutirta. Trita Kupe Visha Lara Koredarashan Panchapsara Tirte Aila Sachiranandan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, next went to Tritakupa. And after seeing the Vishal deity there, he went to the holy place known as Panchapsara Tirtha. Gokarne Shivadeki Aila Dvaipayani Sarpa Raka Tirte Aila Nyasi Shiromani. After seeing Panchapsara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gokarna. While there, he visited the temple of Lord Shiva, and then he went to Dvaipayani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the crown jewel of all sannyasis, then went to Surparaka Tirtha. So sometimes when I'm reading, I'm not always reading the purports. And one explanation I will give in that respect is, I know Prabhupada is presenting so much information and everything, but what I consider is there basically translation of the commentaries of the Acharyas. And the commentaries of the Acharyas are, like you can say that so much information is given in those commentaries. Like for instance, Mahaprabhu is traveling in South India, and some of the commentaries are giving how to get there, what are the railway lines, what are the railway stations. So much information is given there, which is very useful, because if somebody wants to travel on pilgrimage to all the holy places that Mahaprabhu went to, in which in many of them, those places, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established footprints of Mahaprabhu at these different places. So much information is given. And it's like the commentaries, you could say, are like research scholarship. There's so much. I mean, I have, Bengali commentaries of the Srimad Bhagavatam, for instance, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can find that the commentaries are very extensive. So, if you really want to know details and research and all these things, just like you can go, if you're doing research, you can go to a research library and read so much information. But I remember so many times devotees would read, they'd read a verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then they'd give a lecture on the verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they'd speak for 45 minutes, an hour, on the Srimad Bhagavatam on one verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and reading the purports and everything. But you never even got to practically finish the chapter, because the chapter is 50 verses or something like that, and they're going off on one verse every day. And if you do that with the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll never remember what is the sequence of events going on in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But it is very useful if you want to know details, and go into the purports and find out everything, and that is very wonderful. But when I'm reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I want to continue the sequence, and if there's some point that I feel that is necessary to explain, I've read Chaitanya Charitamrita before, so I'll explain that point. But, I mean, honestly, you can find some purports that go on for 20, 30 pages. But I think that's very, very wonderful, and it's very useful. Somebody has use for that information. They want to read and know that information. So it's like a library where you can go there. The acharyas have commented. For instance, if you read the commentaries, I believe, on Srimad Bhagavatam about, Krishna-lila or something, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur will explain something, and he'll explain it for pages, and it's very beautiful and subjective analysis. He'll say, well, according to this, if we consider it's of, we consider this means it's a full moon night or something, and then he'll explain it then from one standpoint. Or if we see it, it's a dark moon, and he'll say this was happening, and he'll describe a sequence of events that aren't really necessarily explained, but he's presenting it very poetically, and he understands it. So all those things are very wonderful. Some people, they're upset. Well, you're not reading all the purports. Yes, that's true. I'm not reading all the purports. But I'm trying to read the sequence of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I don't know. I've read the Chaitanya Charitamrita more than a few times. So I think I can explain what's going on in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Gokarne Shiva Deki Aila Dvaipayani Surparaka Tirtayala Nyasi Shiromani. After seeing Panchapsara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gokarna. While there, he visited the temple of Lord Shiva. And then he went to Dvaipayani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the crown jewel of all sannyasis, then went to Surparaka Tirtha. Kolapure Latmi Dekina Kira Bhagavati, Langa Ganesh Deki, Dekina Chora Parvati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited the town of Kolapur, where he saw the goddess of fortune in the temple of Chira Bhagavati, and saw Langa Ganesh in another temple known as Chora Parvati. Tirtha Hoite Pandara Pure Aila Gorachandra Vita Tala Takuradeki Pailananda. From there, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Pandarapur, where he happily saw the temple of Vitatala Thakur. Brahmaveshe Koila Bahuta Kirtana Nartan Tahane Vipratare Koila Nimantran. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced in various ways as usual. A Brahmin singing in ecstatic love was very pleased and invited the Lord to his home for lunch. Bahuda Dare Prabhuke Bika Koraila Bika Kori Tata Egg Shubha Bharta Paila. The Brahmin offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu food with great respect and love. After finishing his lunch, the Lord received auspicious news. Madhava Purir Sishya Sri Rangapuri Madhvaj Purir Sishya Sri Rangapuri Nam Se Grame Vipra Krihe Korana Vishram. Mahaprabhu received word that Sri Rangapuri, one of the disciples of Sri Madhavendra Puri, was present in that village at the home of a Brahmin. Shuniya Chalila Prabhu Tare Deki Bare Vipra Grihe Vasi Achen Dekila Tahare. Hearing this news, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately went to see Sri Rangapuri at the Brahmin's house. Upon entering, the Lord saw him sitting there. Premaveshe Kore Tare Danda Paranam. Premaveshe Kore Tare Danda Paranam. Ashru Pulaka Kampa Sarvange Paredagam. Premaveshe Kore Tare Danda Paranam. Ashru Pulaka Kampa Sarvange Paredagam. As soon as Mahaprabhu saw Sri Rangapuri, he immediately offered him obeisances and ecstatic love. Falling flat on the ground, the symptoms of transcendental transformation were visible, namely tears, jubilation, trembling, and perspiration. So Mahaprabhu came and he saw, here's Sri Rangapuri, who's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Now, I remember when we were traveling with the devotees and preaching and everything, and we come and we'd find, different devotees from the Gaudiya Math when we were traveling and preaching, especially when we were collecting. We'd find devotees. This one I'm in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. We find different devotees from different temples of Gaudiya Math, initiated brahmacharis or sannyasis or grihastas from the Gaudiya Math. And they'd invite us to take lunch or something like that. But we generally didn't accept those invitations. We had one cook who traveled with us, and that cook would cook for us. But when we got to the place where we were going, there were grihasta devotees there who were disciples of Srila Sridhar Maharaj or Srila Govinda Maharaj. We got to those places, and they'd invite us to lunch, and we would eat in their houses. But other persons we met, they were also practicing devotees. But they weren't from our mutt, so we didn't really eat in their house. Now here, Mahaprabhu meets. He meets with Rangapuri and he becomes ecstatic. And Rangapuri is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Mahaprabhu, of course, is initiated by Ishwara Puri, who's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So he sees Sri Rangapuri as Guru Tattva, and he's very ecstatic to see him. Dekhiya Vishmita Hoila Sri Rangapuri Man Utaya Sripad Bole Lavachan. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in such an ecstatic mood, Sri Rangapuri said, "Your Holiness, please get up." Calls him Sripad. Sripad, named for a sannyasi. Sripad, Sripad. Like I'll say, Sripad Madhva Maharaj, Sripad Madhva. Sripad, title, giving respect to a sannyasi. Srila, giving respect to a sannyasi who has disciples. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in such an ecstatic mood, Sri Rangapuri said, Utaha Sripad, please, Your Holiness, please get up. Sripad Dharamora Gosaira Sambandha Taha Bina Anyatra Nahi E Premaraganda. Your Holiness is certainly related to Sri Madhavendra Puri, without whom there is no fragrance of ecstatic love. So Rangapuri sees Mahaprabhu is ecstatic, so he says, I know that you're related with Madhavendra Puri because you show that in your ecstasy. Ita boli Prabhu ke utaya koilanengan galagali koridu he korana krandan. After saying that, Sri Rangapuri lifted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and embraced him. As they embraced shoulder to shoulder, they both began to cry in ecstasy. This is Kaneke Avesha Chade Duharadarya Hoila Ishvara Purir Sambandha Gosai Janardan. After some moments, they came to their senses and became patient. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then informed Sri Rangapuri about his relationship with Ishwara Puri. Adbhuta Premara Vanya Duhara Madhya-lila Duhe Manya Kori Duhe Anande Vashila. They were both inundated by the wonderful ecstasy of love that was aroused in them. Finally, they sat down and respectfully began to converse. Duvijane Krishna Kata Kohe Ratri Dine Emate Gonaila Pancha Shata Dine. In this way, they discussed topics about Lord Krishna continually for 5 to 7 days. Kotuke Puritare Puchila Janmastan Gosai Kotuke Kohen Nabadipanam. Out of curiosity, Sri Rangapuri asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about his birthplace, and the Lord informed him that it was Navadip Dham. Sri Madhva Puri or Sange Sri Rangapuri Purveyasi Achila Teho Nadia Nagari. Sri Rangapuri had formerly gone to Navadip with Sri Madhavendra Puri, and he therefore remembered the incidents that had taken place there. Jagannath Mishra-gari Bika Jay Korila Apurva Mochara Ganta Tahan Jay Kaila. As soon as Sri Rangapuri recalled Navadip, he also recalled accompanying Sri Madhavendra Puri to the house of Jagannath Mishra, where Sri Rangapuri had taken lunch. He even remembered the taste of an unprecedented curry made of banana flowers. Mochaganta. Jagannath Brahmaniteho Maha Pativrata Vatsalye Hoyanateho Jaina Jagannmata. Sri Rangapuri also remembered the wife of Jagannath Mishra. She was very devoted and chaste. As for her affection, she was exactly like the mother of the universe, like Jagannmata. She was like the mother of everyone. Randane Nipunata Samanahi Tribhuvane Putra Sama Sneho Koran Sannyasi Bhojane. We also remembered how Sri Jagannath Mishra's wife, Sachimata, was expert in cooking. He recalled that she was very affectionate toward the sannyasis and fed them exactly like her own sons. Tara Egg Jogya Putra Koryache Sannyas Shankararanya Nama Tara Alpavayas. Sri Rangapuri also remembered that one of her deserving sons had accepted the renounced order at a very young age. His name was Shankararanya. So Shankararanya is Vishwarup, Mahaprabhu's older brother. He took sannyas and got the name of Shankararanya. And then because they wanted to get him married, he didn't want to get married, so he took sannyas and left. And then they hadn't heard from him. And Mahaprabhu, one of the reasons given for going to South India is he wanted to find some news about Vishwarupa, about his brother who had taken sannyas, who's here. So Sri Rangapuri also remembered that one of her, now he's talking about Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata without necessarily knowing that Mahaprabhu is the son of Sachimata. So he said, Sri Rangapuri also remembered that one of Sachi's deserving sons had accepted the renounced order at a very young age. His name was Shankararanya. Etirte Shankararanya Siddhi Prapti Hoida Prastave Sri Rangapuri Etika Kohila. Sri Rangapuri informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the sannyasi named Shankararanya had attained perfection in that holy place, Pandharapur. Well, when it says Siddhi Prapti, that means he's passed away. At that place, at Pandharapur, that Shankararanya, who was Mahaprabhu's brother, had passed away, Siddhi Prapti. This way, they have different ways of saying he passed away, Siddhi Prapti, Ganga Prapti, different ways of saying he attained, he passed away. So he's informed Mahaprabhu at that place where Mahaprabhu was at, Pandharapur, his brother passed away. Prabhu Kohe Purvashramite Homora Brata Jagannath Mishra Purvashrami Mora Pita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, in my previous ashram, Shankararanya was my brother and Jagannath Mishra was my father. Emata Duijane Ishtakoshti Kori Daraka Dekite Chalila Sri Rangapuri. After finishing his talks with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Rangapuri started for Dwarkadam. Dinachari Tata Prabhu Ke Rakila Brahman Bhima Nadi Snana Kori Korana Vitatala Darshan Vitatala Darshan. After Sri Rangapuri departed for Dwarka, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained with the Brahman at Pandharapur for 4 more days. He took his bath in the Bhima River and visited the temple of Vitala. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue. Let me just see how many verses left in this chapter. Okay, tomorrow we can finish the chapter. So, if we read tomorrow is Sunday, so we have our program, Sunday program. But we'll try to finish the chapter early and then continue. Okay. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shimarusudan Govinda Ram Shimarusudan Giridhari Gopinatham Maranamahan Giridhari Gopinatham Maranamahan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Garadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Hey Jai Gosai Kori Karana Bandhan Jante Vignana Shavisa Puran Hey Jai Gosai Jar Mui Karana Dasamar Padaninu Mora Panchadan Kare Janana Sevi Bhakta Sanivan Janame Janame More Abhilan Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Goinaman Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Pratman Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhya-lila Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriya Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naradamona Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Tilak Neri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premzigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Yo.